Okay, with Epsom only 4 weeks away, trials for the two showpiece 3-year-old races on the calendar, the Oaks and the Derby, have been taking place. And I'm here with Racing Supremo Paul Wheeler, who's cast his experienced eye all over the major action for the past week. So Paul, let's start at Chester with the Cheshire Oaks, which is won by Gertrude Bell.
Well, it's hard to dislike her, Lewis. I mean, she did everything right, but as a trial, to me, it was more a testimony to the riding skills of William Buick. Set the race up brilliantly. He dictated the race in the front, he got first run, and they finished in a bit of a heap. I mean, she only won by 3/4 of a length.
Yeah.
Now, she should improve for the step up to 12 furlongs, the breeding tells you that, but she gave me the impression a little bit, she's a bit on the big side. I don't mean in terms of condition, but actually in terms of a frame. Would she be quite suited by a track like Epsom? But she's got to be worth the run.
Okay, so next we had the Chester Vase, which was won by Ted Spread. Do you think we got a potential Derby winner on our hands there?
The first two words that sprang to mind for me about Ted Spread were tough and admirable, which is great, but do you really want that if you're looking for a Derby winner? Mark Tompkins, his trainer, said he was thinking more in terms of a Ledger horse beforehand, and I think he's probably got that about right. Tompkins won the Ledger in 1993 with Bob's Return, who finished 6th in the Derby, and I can see Ted Spread finishing in about the same place. He's a guaranteed stayer, he will last the 12 furlongs, no problems, and he'll be there when others are wilting. But you really do think there's going to be a few more in there with just a bit more speed come Epsom.
I'd agree, actually, yeah. And also, Frankie Dettori rode at Asmill in the D Stakes as well. You impressed with his performance?
Yeah, you've got to be, because he won the race, really, in spite of things going wrong for him. About halfway, he got stuck having to manoeuvre around Prompter when he ran into some problems, and that really didn't help Asmill's course, because he had to change his lead leg. Now, that may not sound very much, but normally, track like Chester, you want to be leading on your near four, because that way you're going with the contours of the course. Instead, Asmill changed to his off four, so he was always working against the course. That was his first problem. Then he got stuck behind horses coming to the home turn, into the home straight. He had to look for a gap, and give him his due. There was a gap. He went for it. He got through it. Showed a bit of bravery there. Only won by half a length, but for my money, that was value for more. For me, the form looks pretty good because it ties in well with a horse called Chabal, who's owned by Godolphin. Now, Chabal beat this one by, I think it was 2 1/4 lengths in the classic trial at Sandown a couple of weeks ago. So that gives it a nice little feel. Yeah, that could be pretty solid form to work with. Even if you don't fancy Asmill for the Derby, it'll give you something to work with the others. Okay.
And Saturday saw the Lingfield trials take place, and Dina Walsh caused a bit of an upset.
Yeah, you usually worry about not being enough pace in an Oaks or a Derby trial. This one probably had too much. I mean, Bebop Alula went off, she wasn't hanging about at all, she folded. Kaylee House and Timepiece then got involved in, frankly, a bit of a slugging match, to the point where, hitting the final furlong, they were both just about out on their feet. Then set it up for a late closer like Dina Waltz. I think you get an idea of what the race was like when Ryan Moore admitted afterwards that the main game plan was to try and, as he put it, nick a bit of black type. The idea being, get her placed in a race like this, looks good on her CV for when she goes to stud as a brood mare. If there was an Oaks winner possibly coming out of the race for me, still stick with Timepiece. Henry Cecil, frankly, looked pretty stunned after the race. She's been beaten in her first 2 starts this season, but clearly Henry is seeing something on the gallops every morning that we haven't seen on the track. My only reservation, whether she might just be a bit of a short runner. Eventually she might be better over 10 furlongs, but got to be worth a run in the Oaks as it stands.
But Henry Cecil did actually win the subsequent Derby trial with Bullet Train, didn't he?
Yes, but frankly didn't seem that moved by it at all. Possibly a question of what he actually beat. Captain James Cook looked a real danger until he suffered that fatal injury. Desert Myth, frankly, flattered to deceive. And you have to ask yourself, is beating Jibawi Phantom by 2 1/4 lengths Derby winning form? After the race, Cecil was very non-committal. He's talking about waiting for the other trials, which is a clear reference to Workforce, who's trained by Sir Michael Stout, but like Bullet Train, he's owned by Prince Khalid Abdullah. Now, Workforce runs in the Dante on Thursday, and that seems to be what Cecil's waiting to find out, where he stands with this one. As he said himself, do you really want to run an outsider in the Derby, effectively just for the hell of it? We'll see.
Okay. It's been a pretty wretched start to the season for Aidan O'Brien, but there was some light at the end of the tunnel on Sunday at Leopardstown, wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. An 8th winner, if you can believe it, in the Derrenstown Stud Derby trial, with Midas Touch, who, let's face it, is an ironic name given how the season's gone for Aidan so far. Bit hard to weigh the race up, really. It was run at a cracking pace, you can't argue that. It was the fastest winning time for 20 years. But there were only 4 runners, and the second, Unknown Address, well, he doesn't exactly look the best form yardstick you've ever seen. He'll be, the O'Brien horse, Midas Touch, he's going to be on the team for Epsom. You'd kind of wonder if they've got something better somewhere.
Okay. So, just to sum up, do you reckon we've seen the winner of the Derby yet, Paul? Or
I very much doubt it.
Okay.
I think we're going to know a lot more after the Dante Stakes at York on Thursday.
Okay. And stay tuned to Better.com later in the week, where Paul just mentioned that we'll be previewing the upcoming races there, and where we'll hopefully see the Derby picture sort of become more clearer.